Greetings. Last weekend, my local college team, Syracuse University, made the final 16 and they ended up losing to Duke University by 4 points. And it was a remarkable year because they struggled this year really with only 7 players. I mean, they kept having injuries. They had a player leave early and they really struggled playing against a lot of good teams. The thing is, they played a ton of good teams. They had one of the toughest schedules in the country, and they made it in, and they made the best of their opportunity. They won 3 games, making it to the Sweet 16. So we locally thought that was pretty remarkable. Nationally, there were a whole lot of people who didn't like the fact that, one, Syracuse made the tournament, and two, that just because they won, in their eyes, didn't mean that they should have been there. They said the same thing 2 years ago when Syracuse made the Final Four, so you just can't win with some of these folks. Now, one of the things that I found interesting leading up to that game during the week was a lot of these fancy ESPN sports guys or whomever were down on Syracuse team because what they said was the coach, Jim Boeheim, never creates stars, NBA stars. What they said is that he has his system and he makes these players play under his system, and then that doesn't make them ready for the NBA when they're drafted. And I thought about this from a leadership perspective. This is not a Syracuse University video, by the way. It's a leadership thing. Because a leader is not supposed to prepare someone for someone else's job. You're supposed to help them grow while they're with you, but it's really all about the team. It's always about the team when you're a leader. For instance, I worked in hospitals, and it wasn't about me making those people better so they could leave. It was about making them better so they could help me and the hospital be better. The hospital was my first consideration. Yes, I had loyalty to the employees. I wanted them to do great. I wanted them to be trained. I wanted them to know every single thing about it. And if they happened to leave and go somewhere else, I wanted them to be of supervisor quality so that they could get more money, have a lot more responsibility, and might look back and say, you know what, that Mitch, he showed me some things, and it has helped me to become a leader at another place. And I've had that happen. So I really enjoyed that. But it's interesting to me that you have these people who want to decide what kind of head coach, aka leader, Jim Boeheim is supposed to do. People keep coming to the university. You know what? We had Carmelo Anthony. We've got a guy named Dion Waiters who is playing for Miami Heat, starting, and he came off the bench at Syracuse. We've got a guy named Jeremy Grant who plays for, I believe, Oklahoma City. He comes off the bench, but he's been doing well. We got Tyler Ennis, who's playing for the Los Angeles Lakers and scored like 6 points the other night. He may not be a starter, but then again, he was a one and done. A lot of Syracuse players have turned out to be one and dones, or maybe two and dones, when they come to the league. You know, so how do you blame a coach for not creating someone who's a better NBA prospect if they only stay 1 or 2 years? It's an interesting question. Now, like I said, this is not about Syracuse University. It's not about basketball. It's really about leadership. Way back when, I've got a product out there, and it's called, and it's a manager evaluation or employee evaluation module. And its purpose is to give those who need to hire either regular employees or hire management the opportunity to go through a lot of criteria to hire the kind of manager that they want. So maybe you want someone who's a tough disciplinarian. You get to check that off. Maybe you want someone who is a good communicator. You get to check that off. In essence, I set it up so you pick 10 categories out of 70 choices so that you can then determine, based on what you think you want, the type of leader that you want for your organization. Now, if you don't do that, and you basically hire someone because you've looked at a resume and you've met them and you say, you know what, I think this person's going to fit in, and you don't know that they have the criteria you actually want because you didn't know what you actually wanted, then you can't later on be mad at them for the type of leader they are when you didn't define what kind of leader you wanted. It's just the way I see things. You know, I always thought that the true leader in a business is someone who really wants to embrace being the leader. And they help other people to make them look good. And everyone looks good. That's really what it's all about. But if you don't decide on the criteria, you can't come back later on and determine, well, this person's a lousy leader because they didn't do this, when they probably didn't have that skill beforehand and you just hired someone because you wanted to hire someone. I've seen that a lot, and it's a terrible way to go. So that's what I'm talking about today, is that if you are in a position to hire someone, whether it's an employee or whether it's a leader, management, whatever, and you don't define what it is you want, it's on you. It's your fault. And if you have nothing to do with it, then shut up. Because people aren't in it to do something that you think is the best thing. They're in it to do what they were hired to do. Now, if they fail there, that's a different story. Anyway, that's my talk on it. Let me know your thoughts. If you have any questions, let me know. I put the link in there to my evaluation module. So if you're interested, check it out. Let me know. Y'all take care. My name is Mitch Mitchell. You have a wonderful week.